Hello, thank you for joining me for today's video. My name is Tracy Held. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Melbourne in Australia. These are the cards that we're going to make today. And this was the first one that I did and I wasn't happy with that sentiment. So that was card number 2 and I'm happier with that. So this is the style that we're going to go with. Let me show you the products that we're using. So first of all, the stamp sets. I'm using the Dainty Delight stamp set, and that first sentiment was from this stamp set, but because I changed my mind, the sentiment that we're going to be using is from the So Refreshing stamp set. And we need the Countryside Corners dies. Now, I've gone and used that third largest die over there. And what I've done is I've just cut it out of a piece of printer paper, which is cut to the same size as my first layer of my card. So let's just pull in a piece of scrap paper over here. Don't know if we really need it, but anyway. Now I'm going to put that over my piece, and I've got some scraps of the masking paper, so I'm going to put those down to hold it in place. You could use your post-it notes, but this masking paper works super duper much better than post-it notes. Alright, now when I did these two, I just felt that they were a bit too stripy. So this one, you can see I tried to go less stripy, but it landed up stripes across the top. So let's try again and see if I can get it not so stripy. Now you do want to be careful when you're working with this, because you don't want that piece underneath to move. So just keep a hold on it. And with your blending brushes, these are the little blending brushes. I really like these. They give me more control. I can work in smaller areas. Now, if you go dunk 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 in your ink pad, you will pick up more ink, so that when you blend, you are going to get a darker color coming through. I don't want it to be too dark, so I'm going to just rub my brush over. Now, start off the page so that you get that initial blotchiness, and then come in. Now just remember that you can always add more ink, so rather go lighter and add more. If you come in too dark initially, then you can't actually do much about it. So it's always better to go less and add more, rather than going too much and not being happy. Alright, so that colour was Daffodil Delight. The next colour that I'm going to use is Balmy Blue. Now I have found that the Balmy Blue is quite a pale colour, so I do sometimes need to go over and over and over it, but like I said, that's okay. I would rather have it paler that I can go over, rather than having it too dark. And don't worry if you feel like it's looking a little bit blotchy. We are going to stamp over it, so you are going to hide that. And I do blend a little bit over the previous colour, so that we don't want sort of a definite line sitting in there. We want the colours to look like they're merging into each other. Okay, next up is Moody Mauve. Now this is a really dark colour, so just be careful when you're going with this one. You definitely don't want it to go straight on, so just give it a good rub off, and then you can bring it in. You can see that colour comes through pretty dark straight away, and a little bit over those edges. And the last colour that I'm going to use is Starry Sky. Now again, this is also quite a dark color, so just be gentle with it. Okay, hopefully that's definitely not stripy, but hopefully we're going to like the way that it looks. Just want a bit more on this brush because I'm going to use that for the insert, and hopefully I can get away with not dipping it into the ink again. Right, now don't move your mask. Let's just leave it there for a second, and I'm going to pick up this big floral image from the Dainty Delight, and I found that this particular stamp works really well with this size of the Countryside Corners dies. It's just the exact right size to fit in there, so we're going to give it a nice stamp. And now this is the fun part, when you lift that mask and see what it looks like underneath. Before we put the stamps away, I just want to take my piece that I've got for my insert, and again with the same stamp, except this time I'm just using the top of the stamp to stamp into the corner over there. And I'm going to just take the brushes that I was using before. You can see they've still got a bit of colour on them, and just rub it over. So here we're not trying for any specific shape, just popping a little bit of colour on there. Okay, so probably the easiest card you've ever made this time around, just for something different. I'm using Moody Mauve as my card base. So we're just going to stick this on top. And my insert can go inside. Now I have actually stamped my sentiment, just because I'm not having a good time with stamping straight on camera at the moment, so I just thought, I'm not even fighting with it. I'm going to stamp it, and we're going to cut it at an angle. I've got a piece of black, which is just a little bit wider, so it's the piece that my sentiment on is 2 centimeters, which would be about 3/4 of an inch, and my black is 2.5 centimeters, which is 1 inch. Now I find it easier to stick this on first and then cut the black at an angle, rather than trying to cut the black at an angle and then stick this on. At least doing it like this, I can just cut against it and I can get it at more or less the same angle as what it was cut, rather than trying to make them match up. Some dimensionals behind here. And we'll just pop that along the bottom. It is going to cover up the bottom of my... I was going to say I don't want to lose the effect of the shape, but I think that it's okay if we've got that along the bottom there we've still got the shape coming up at the top. Alright, so there we go, 3 different versions of the same card. I think that I'm finally happy with this one where it doesn't look like everything's in stripes and it's a bit more blotchy. Tell me which one you like best, and I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I will see you again next time. Until then, bye.